Do we think we got VoiceGate worked out about the podcast earlier this morning?
Yes.
So we have a new podcast today, but it's a follow-up to last week's podcast with Sack Spirit.
Yes.
So
More scary stuff.
Yeah, there's still creepy overtones if you're of Dawn's mindset.
Gosh dang it. 2 weeks in a row, I can't turn it on.
So this morning before the
I'll
show,
turn it on.
this morning before the show, I'm getting ready, and my wife, she's home alone in the dark and is listening to the new podcast.
Oh, God. No, not the dark.
And I get a text from my wife that says, I don't have it in front of me. It was basically like, what's with the strange voices during Brandon's broadcast?
What?
So I texted her back. I said, babe, I haven't been able to listen yet, but it is a Sack Spirit thing. Maybe it's the voice box or
the box. Oh, that damn box.
And she wrote back. She said, I don't think so. And she's a little delirious, hasn't slept a lot. So I popped into Brandon's room. I said, but Brandon gave me that look like, are you guys the pot smokers now? So you reported back.
Right.
You did some research and you think you nailed this down.
Yes. In fact, I have a sample of said voice.
Super.
It's not a voice, so just hold your horses. So this is just a little snippet of what you'll hear, and just keep in mind that this is a Zoom interview that I had with Brent and Melissa.
That a lot of those souls wanted help too, so it gave it some real intensity for me.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of these cases that we've been a part of are always different. So did you hear the voices?
Yeah,
it
and
was like a demon.
So now, that's the first I've heard it. Knowing your explanation, I understand it, but I also understand why Dawn and then my wife reacted the way they did.
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh, totally.
hello?
And somebody had actually emailed at like 3 a.m. this morning. Yes, 3 a.m. this
Of course,
morning. You
always.
stupid.
A little redundant, but it's okay.
That's okay. Listen to Mark 341. What is that sound? And that's what I just played. And so it's just a little bit of feedback because Melissa and Brent had their speakers on while they were talking over their mic. So when my voice bled over their speakers, it would then reverberate or create feedback back into their speakers.
That's all it is. You can see it if you watch enough TV, really, and not just cable news, sports and stuff, where sometimes they've got their Zoom mics on. You hear the echo effect. You hear the double loop. Sometimes now you hear the interviewer's question in the background long after he's asked it, and then it depends on whose mics are
Yeah,
on.
but what's the perfect broadcast for that to happen on?
Or was it feedback?
That's
Exactly.
our explanation. We'll see how many of you buy it as you listen to the broadcast.
See, I was worried that I was accidentally recording a porn underneath it, and somehow it like bled under. Like that would be so embarrassing.
Oh, Lord.
We've got a bunch of more studio audience members.
No, this is amazing.
This morning we are
People are gorgeous.
we are filling
I love all
up.
the doggies.
The cardboard cutouts are all. Now I notice we've moved our infected COVID patient because we moved a third of the patients. We moved them. Remember earlier this week somebody wrote in and said, "Oh, I tested positive for COVID," and so
Super.
he said, "I'm fine. Everything will be fine." But now all your other cutouts are infected.
Yeah.
We took care of it. We put a mask on the cutout, and it's behiinbehind Dawn, so Dawn's safe.
I hope so because I'm at risk.
Yeah, but
Hello?
he's masked, and mask protects everyone.
And isn't it 14 days that
Yeah.
they have to be quarantined?
Yeah, exactly.
So
That is
we've got
so
another week.
funny.
We've got our first bikini cut out. You say?
Yeah, that's classy at least.
And hello.
At least she's not hoeing it up.
Hello, Danielle next
I
to her.
know.
No, she's not hoeing it up.
Oh, my.
She's gorgeous.
And we've moved Athena as requested to behind me, joke teller Athena, and
Aw.
other joke teller tiaras with Dawn now. So
you go, girl.
like a dozen new ones and more dogs, and I guess we've got a dozen more coming next week already.
Are you
Wow.
serious? We don't have
Dang.
enough. We don't have enough space
We're-
for a dozen more.
We're not sold out yet. You can see. We
hell?
can see
Wow.
where we can see. So
Yeah, we'll fit them in.
if you go to maggotmall.com, you can order your own cardboard cutout for now. And then what happens is everybody stays for 30 days. They can extend, and then when they're done, we sign your cutout and we mail it back to you. And so once we're sold out, once we're at capacity, you'll have to wait for people to get their cutouts mailed back to them.
A waiting list.
Now, I mentioned Athena because she asked to get moved behind me. She was
Yeah.
behind Brandon, who she loves, but she really likes me.
Right,
'cause
you're her favorite.
She likes when I get mad and I talk through my teeth for some reason, which is only something I started doing recently because of 2020.
And of the three of us, you'd probably be more dark.
Yes,
She's dark.
yes, well, and I'm
Yeah.
into dark things. Hello. That takes us back to Danielle and my wife. Ooh, Danielle and my wife.
Okay.
Whoa.
So if we can accommodate your request, we will. Who do we have in your studio, Brando? No, not back there.
Oh.
No.
Huh?
Over here. Who is? Do we know who that is?
It's a special guest.
Okay.
He's a very friendly guest.
What's that? What's going on?
He likes to entertain. He likes to keep people happy.
He's in Brandon's studio,
Is there a clown behind
but
me?
he wanted to be right
Is there
behind
a
Dawn.
clown behind
What?
me?
So he's behind
talking about?
Dawn
What do you mean?
in Brandon's studio.
Oh God!
Just look.
No, I don't want to look.
Just look.
I don't want to look.
Just look.
I don't want to look.
It's not in your studio. It's in Brandon's studio. You won't. It's different.
Say hello to Captain Spaulding.
That's the guy that wrote in, and that's his costume or whatever.
No, that's actually the character from The Devil's Rejects.
Oh, that's not even
Ooh, I
a
like
costume.
that.
Yeah, so I now that I think
Okay.
about it, I don't even know if we can use that image on our video.
Good. Get it out of here.
Oh crap!
We'll
Get
have
it
to-
outta here.
We'll double check how I
I
think
liked that movie.
I think
That
it
was-
falls under movie poster.
Okay, because I could have Nick like superimpose like a goofy like clip art clown behind her.
For those of you that don't listen all the time, Nick is a member of our production team.
Yes. Thank you, Rob.
Yes, you're welcome. So, you can get your cutouts at
Wait,
send them in
I
at
did-
magicmall.com.
I missed all that. Is that a person or no? What is happening?
If you would stop screaming for 1 second, you would hear the explanation.
I heard Devil's Rejects, and I did. Is he dressed up as somebody?
What it is, Dawn, is it's a cardboard cutout that somebody paid money to put behind you. It's not going to curse you, hurt you, touch
Oh,
you. You'll be
God.
okay.
Money well spent.
Whatever.
Let's get to this right away since it is somewhat breaking. A new protest erupted Monday night last night after a black man was fatally shot by sheriff's deputies in South Los Angeles yesterday afternoon.
Dang.
The shooting occurred around 3:15 in the afternoon. The man had been riding a bicycle when deputies attempted to stop him for code violations. This is what I've told you about numerous times. This is what's called code enforcement. Cops will use code enforcement, vehicular enforcement to sometimes because they're legitimately concerned for the safety of others. However, the truth of the matter is, having done dozens of ride-alongs, sometimes code enforcement is used because they see somebody that they either know is a troublemaker or maybe has like prison tattoos, which they're always looking to make contact with those people. And so
Those people?
if they see somebody not use their turn signal, or maybe this guy does, I don't know at all what the situation is here. None of us do. If this guy was supposed to, it's in the afternoon, so this doesn't apply. He's supposed to have a bike light, and it's not. That's what code enforcement is. So they're trying to pull him over for a code violation, and then he gets off his bike and runs. Okay?
Dang.
That obviously, right away, heightens the sentence. Deputies caught up to him, and then he starts fighting the deputies. He punched a deputy
Oh.
and dropped some clothes that he was holding, and in the clothes that he was holding, as it drops to the ground, is a black semi-automatic handgun.
Oh shoot.
2 deputies opened fire and shot him several times, and he was pronounced dead at the scene. Lieutenant Brandon Dean says, quote, "We still have to conduct our interviews of the investigating officers to see exactly what happened and what prompted the use of force. If this individual was reaching for a semi-automatic handgun, that's why deadly force was important," end quote. And that's the big question for people is, okay, wait a minute. The initial account said that he ran, that's bad. He fought, that's bad.
Yeah.
Punched a cop, that's bad.
Yes.
Dropped his clothes, which had a handgun in it, that's bad. But none of it, in that version, authorizes lethal force.
No.
When the gun falls to the ground, he's no longer a threat. So the lieutenant is pointing out, wait, this is just what the initial report says. If dude drops the clothes and is reaching for the gun, we're going to use lethal force, and we're going to be defended in doing that every time.
Yeah.
What makes it worse, of course, is there's video, which is clipped. There's a video captured by a bystander showing the man running from deputies, carrying what appears to be clothing. That lines up with the official report. And a woman is heard yelling, "Don't shoot him."
Oh.
Helpful.
Yeah.
Then the video cuts to the 2 deputies holding their weapons over the man who's on the ground. He's already been shot. Completely edits out the
yeah, come
vital
on.
part of at least that one video that went social that led to the protesters last night in L.A. We'll see where that story goes, but it continues on and on.
The protests would have happened either way, which I know you already know that, but just as we have the discussion, because even if he had reached for it, we've heard from people on listen to this show that still say, so what? You don't have to kill him. So they would have happened. It would have, if the full video completely showed him reaching for the gun, not the clothes. Clearly, we can see he's reaching for the gun. Riots still would have occurred.
No, by the way, no riots, protests.
Or I'm sorry, protests. Oh, yeah, there is a difference.
Yes, there is a difference,
okay.
and we won't be sure.
Yeah,
there was. I saw the video. There was some pushing and shoving with LAPD last night. It is nothing like riots. The protesters got angry.
Yeah, no, the riots destroy everything.
And this is the heightened state that we're in. They had. I'd go a step further. If we had video, or if we get video that shows him not just reaching, but actually getting his hand on his gun. There is an unfortunate strain of society that's going to say you have to wait until you're shot at.
Yep.
This is all speculation, by the way, because maybe he didn't reach for the gun.
Oh, God.
Then we got a real problem on our hands.
Huge problem.
If the cops have body cams that show that they chase him down, and that if the initial report shows or says that they're scuffling, and that's when the clothes fall, like somewhere around the cop gets punched. Well, if the clothes fall, and the gun's down there, and he's just literally standing there looking at the cops and they open fire, that's going to be a problem, if that's all it is. And so we're going to have to wait. I know we don't do that.
No, of course.
For more details to come out.
Everyone's already picked sides.
But I thought I'd just get that out of the way early. Yes, I know. Based in a lot of you don't even know that this was going on because it happened late last night in LA, your first week.
I didn't know.
Right. And so by just my description, you have already decided, well, he ran from the cops, he should be dead. Or you've decided, well, the cops were racist to begin with to even pull him over, so they are murderers. I understand that.
Yes.
I'm just here to report. On that note, a couple of emails that have come in over the last couple of days, including this one from Daryl.
Hey, Daryl.
He says, hey, Rob, I'm curious your take on how Sacramento has mostly avoided riots. They've had success in major cities and in states, the rioters have, all with Democratic governors, and Trump is using that, but Sacramento has a loser as a mayor, and Gavin Newsom is governor, yet seems to have tamped down an insurrection, so what gives? That's a great question, Daryl. We reported last Thursday, Sacramento law enforcement got word that a portion of the Portland Antifa group and some other rabble-rousers were making their way down to Sacramento to use the Jacob Blake shooting as a precipice to begin causing problems. Remember, there had two events on Thursday. Totally peaceful, legitimate protest at 5, and then at 8 was the one where people were encouraged to show up wearing masks. Don't be a peace cop, meaning don't tell us not to cause trouble, etc. And we got unfortunately, relatively speaking, mild rioting. There was some graffiti. A couple of the federal or a couple of the government buildings, the DA's office, one of the sheriff's departments was attacked. Some buildings were attacked. Windows broken. And we talked Friday morning about wondering what will happen over the weekend because there's a reason they start these things on Thursday. We talked about look at the map. They go from Seattle down to Portland. What's the next major city south? Sacramento. We discussed how they send out scouts to try to figure out if cities are ready for these things, and that one of the things that happened Thursday night was on Thursday, it was somewhere between 100 and 200 people, which is not a huge amount of rioters, because that's what most of them were in the late one. And also, it was an extraordinary show of force on the part of law enforcement. Nice. And would that tamp down the rioters, or would that make them go, oh, yeah? Well, why don't I just bow up here and see what happens? Yeah. We've had a couple more nights of it. The numbers have dwindled. The violence has subsided for the most part. It has not completely ended. None of that is soothing to the business owners in the area. They got into like the 70s in terms of numbers of people over the weekend. But to your question, Daryl, it's a combination of a few things. First of all, the main person in the greater Sacramento area that runs law enforcement is Sheriff Scott Jones. Oh. He does not really answer to anyone other than the voters, and he has the ability to mobilize his forces if he perceives there's a reason to. But it's not just Jones. The CHP and the National Guard were mobilized as well, and that comes straight from the governor's office. And this goes back to what we were talking about yesterday, that for some reason, I think this makes me a libtard by saying this. It's hard for me to keep track.
Oh, yeah, here we go.
For some reason, it bothers those of you that when I point out that Governor Gavin Newsom of California is not a moron. And I don't know how that's somehow an endorsement of nuisance in 2024, but it is to a lot of you.
Wow.
But he was front and center on this, and while he may even, I have no idea, he may sympathize with some of the things that some of the protesters who turn into rioters believe, he also knows the last thing California can handle right now is a major city riot under the guise of COVID, wildfires, and everything else that's going on.
Yeah.
And he was right at the front of tamping that down, if you believe that law enforcement present does that.
I saw something that I hadn't actually heard come out of anyone's mouth, and maybe this is old news for you. So they were interviewing, I think it was the girls that coordinated the peaceful protests that went on
in SAC Thursday night.
And throughout the weekend, and they were peaceful. And they asked them, how do you feel about the rioters coming in? Do you feel that takes away from your cause and what you're trying to fight for? And they were like, basically, I mean, this isn't word for word, but basically they said, we're not going to tell them how to protest. They're for the same cause as we are. They just have a different way of showing it. And I was really surprised by that. It was basically an endorsement. It was like, hey, if that's what they want to do, they could do that. And I was really surprised by that because I just felt like the answer would have been, yes, they're taking the eye off the ball because I feel like the majority of people hate all this rioting. You're destroying small business. You're destroying in a lot of cases, the very people you're fighting for to be looked at as human. You're ruining their businesses as well. So that's just where I don't know.
The argument is that you have to make the comfortable uncomfortable. And so you can be of the mindset of we need racial equality, we need police reform, but I'm not going to break a building. But if you want to, good, make them uncomfortable, because history shows throughout the world, not America, only when you make the comfortable uncomfortable does change happen. And that is why if I was of that side, I probably would advise this. If I was a PR person, the same thing. Yeah, you don't engage in it, but you don't condemn it either.
Yeah, and I wonder how many people are like me or fall under what you just described and what they're hoping, because you're not making me uncomfortable. You're making me mad that you're destroying cities. It doesn't even make me want to listen to you at all as a rioter.
To them, it's a distinction without a difference. And again, if they're truly devout, history shows otherwise. History shows that eventually your anger will turn to, okay, fine, how do we fix this? And but remember, that takes years sometimes. And that's why a lot of people are looking at what's going on around the country and wondering where any of this ever ends. Yesterday we did, by the way, we alluded to, like, very briefly, what did we do? Oh, we did like a 10-minute segment where we mentioned Michael Moore is warning Democrats to don't get complacent because Trump could easily win. And then we played a clip of Vice President Joe Biden answering a question in which he didn't even know who he was talking about. Of course, this is on a show where we have spent the last 4 years playing endless clips of Trump making a fool of himself. And we were immediately inundated with a couple of emails about our political persuasions. And we got another half dozen, which I will hold on to for when we have time. I greatly appreciate you not disappointing and making sure that you labeled Dawn and me each in different emails, both Trumpsters and libtards. Both of us are.
Hey, at least they're consistent.
Well, I do have both viewpoints,
which maybe
that's fine.
That's how we take it. It's amazing how one person says Dawn is clearly a Trumpster.
Oh, God.
And that same person says, I clearly love Joe Biden. And then the very next email, a different person says, I am clearly a Trumpster.
Oh, gosh.
And Dawn loves Biden except for his COVID thing, but she won't tolerate a lot more of this stuff from Trump. And so Dawn's going to keep me in line.
I won't?
So,
thank goodness they have it figured out.
Yeah, so we'll hold on to those and read them. For those of you that are sitting, because you are the kind of people that are up this morning going, come on. We're not doing it today. But we will.
So funny.
We will get